Now, in sport, we have lots of phrases we say, quite a bit. Maybe you heard a few today even. Possibly one of those might have been, oh, they're a gun, or she really killed it in the footy today, or they broke a new record. We battled hard. Now, I want you to stand up in a moment and see if you can think up a similar kind of description that happens in sport. So what that is it's a metaphor. So if someone was saying, she broke a record, they didn't literally go and break a record. If someone says, we battled hard, I don't think they were in a war. Yeah? Or maybe they said, he's a gun. It doesn't look like a gun ready to fire. So can you stand up, chat to people around you and see if you can come up with a similar metaphor you've probably heard in sport. You have 30 seconds and then you'll grab a seat again. Go. So, probably what you're going to realise with a lot of those sayings, they're quite outrageous. They're quite outrageous metaphors, if you're in an English class, or quite outrageous descriptions of something. And as some of you know, I'm a high school teacher, high school phys ed teacher. So I really enjoy that form of work, and I get to spend lots of my time with young people. And there's also another form of outrageous claim I hear quite often from high schoolers or students, particularly in the sports environment. And there are some other teachers in the room and they may know what I'm talking about. And that's when someone comes up and they're usually pretty quick to tell you, I'm pretty good at tennis, Mr. Miles, or I'm better than my brother and he's 3 years older than me. Usually though, other students or other people go, mate, that's what you say, but how do we know? That's just what you claim. That's an outrageous claim. How can you stand here and tell me that you are really good at tennis, that you're better than your brother? Let someone else tell me how good you are. Quite an outrageous claim from students. Can they back it up? Well, time will tell in the phys ed class. I'll give you that little tip. Today though, we're going to be looking at a snapshot of Jesus, and he also makes an outrageous claim. We see in John chapter 8, verse 12, he says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And John chapter 9, verse 5, he also says, while I am in the world, I am the light of the world. An outrageous claim. So light. Like in those sports sayings, Jesus is using a metaphor to describe himself. He wasn't saying he's 60 watts. I don't think he was saying there's a switch. I don't think he was also saying I can be plugged in. I wonder what he was trying to actually say about himself. Probably going to require us to think a little bit about this outrageous claim of Jesus. So light. What does light offer? Well, light is needed for life. It produces energy, helps people see. It's quite powerful. It can actually hurt our eyes a little bit. And most importantly, light lets us play sport. Your beauty. Yes. Now, maybe you want to think about it. Can you think about how many lights there are in your house? Just have a think about it. Could you actually count how many lights there are in your house? Some of you probably have lots of lights. Maybe like a chandelier or something, and some of you might have just a pretty basic light in one per room. So have a think about it, see if you can count. Maybe you've got 15, 20, 30, and maybe that's too hard, just how many in your room? Just one, or maybe you've got a lamp as well. Either way, when Jesus says something about light, he says, I am the light of the world. The single, the only light of the world. So that's an outrageous claim. So whatever he means by this word light, he's saying he is the light, the only light of the world. We might have 40 or 80 lights in our house. Jesus is claiming for the whole world, he is the light, the only light. And I do have some footage of lights in different places. Maybe you've heard of Earth Hour before. They turn off the lights to recognise power of the Earth. So here's some famous sites. There's plenty of lights here, and we'll gradually see the lights being turned off as well. So there you have it. There's some famous sites, maybe some of you have been to them, where some of the lights have been turned off for a certain period of time. Now, there's only different places in the world, there's still plenty of lights elsewhere. So, what could Jesus be saying is going to be the light, the only light of the world? Maybe it's similar to the sun. If you think about the sun for a moment, the sun, it lights up everything, it exposes everything, produces life, movement, sport, like I said, and even freedom for the world. Jesus goes on though, and he also says, he mentions walking in darkness. What's walking in darkness like? Well, I don't know if you've ever had it, you've gone to the toilet at night and the lights are off, and you tend to fumble, you're a bit confused, you don't know where to go, you get a little bit lost, and you're likely to stub your toe, and you end up reacting to things. You're walking, and all of a sudden you see something in front of you, and you have to change directions. But if we also see in verse 32, Jesus tells us a little bit more that might help us understand what he's talking about. If you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So if we do a little comparison of two separate passages, sections here, have a look at the colour combinations. We've got the red, whoever follows me, and the other one says, hold to my teaching. The yellow, never walk in darkness. The other one says, will set you free. And the blue, light of life and know the truth. I think light and truth are the same in Jesus' metaphorical language, and set free and walk in darkness. Light, truth, meaning the same. Set free, never walk in darkness, meaning the same. Hopefully you can see that from those colour combinations I've done for you there. I think Jesus is therefore saying, I am the answer or truth for the whole world. Not just a good guy, not just another teacher, not a guy with a little bit of magic or brilliance, but he is claiming that he is the truth about God and he reveals God to the world. This claim is outrageous because it's not for some people. It's not for good people, religious people, people who believe in God. It's for all people. Young people, old people, you name it. And more than that, I think he's saying, you've got God and life itself totally wrong, but I have got it right. That's outrageous. Jesus is saying, he is truth. He is the light of the world, and that we've got God and life itself wrong. Are you excited about that? Are you scared? Confused? Indifferent? Or doubtful? Has someone said that about themselves and about the world? Jesus, though, he also claims people follow him. They will never walk in darkness. They will never be totally confused. Because it seems like God has originally created humans to be in relationship with Jesus, the Creator, and that humans were able to be in relationship with God and were not confused, they weren't lost. We knew our purpose, we found our worth in God. But humans went, now stuff you, God. I'm going to live as if I am God. Now this God is perfect and he's the light of the world. He has to separate himself from the human race. He doesn't... so he separates himself from the world. Unfortunately, that leads to a lot of problems in this world. It leads to suffering, pain, and all kinds of other evil in the world. And it means all humans are born and live in a default state of separation from God, evident in our indifference, ignorance, and rejection of God. But before we see how Jesus promises that we can walk with him, we need to get a picture of what it is to be walking in darkness. What do you think though? When do we most notice what it's like to be without light? When is it most obvious? I think it's very obvious when you go camping. I had the chance to go camping with a bunch of Year 11 students, and the most forgotten item that is listed for students to bring is the torch. Isaac knows it, maybe he's experienced it himself. The torch. We always forget the torch. We're so used to having light around us. And when you're on camp, life is a total new dimension. For example, you will never eat so early in your life except when you go camping because it all goes dark at 6 o'clock. So you have to have dinner about 5 o'clock, particularly by the time you prepare it as well. You try putting your tent up really early as well. All the simple tasks of finding your clothes, even if Luke has officially arranged his clothing in his room, if there's no light, he ain't finding his clothes. I'm sorry about that. Even putting your clothes on the right way becomes quite difficult. You need a torch to check that you've got it on the right way as well. So let's imagine you're on this camp, or you're on a school camp maybe. The note from the PE teachers have told you, bring a beanie, it's going to be really cold. And you decide, you decide to grab a Dockers beanie. You don't have a beanie, but you're wanting to prove to all your friends at school that you're a die-hard Dockers supporter. They've lost 10 games in a row, whatever it be, and you're like, nah, I'm going to show my mates that I'm not a bandwagon supporter. I'm a passionate Dockers supporter. I'm going to wear a beanie on this camp. I'm going to stamp who I go for right on my forehead so nobody can get confused which team I go for. So there you are. You're at your tent. You've grabbed your beanie, grabbed some warm clothes, zip up your tent, and you've headed over to the campfire. You're sitting around the campfire, having a good time, making jokes, sharing some banter, cooking marshmallows, talking about the latest Pokemon that you've caught. And the fire keeps going. But people start to get tired, like some of you probably are tonight, and decide to head to bed. And it's getting colder. So, you get ready to head to bed, but now you try to remember where you put your beanie. You're sure, absolutely sure you brought the beanie out whilst everyone was sitting around the campfire. But because it's dark, it's really hard to find your beanie. You stumble, you fall, you make noise, you wake other people up. It's really annoying. You start to think, did someone steal it? Or maybe I left it at home. Maybe I didn't even bring it. Oh man. Oh, what's going on here? And you go to bed in a bit of a grumpy mood because you feel like somebody's definitely stolen it because they know how important it was for you to bring that beanie. Now, you're living in darkness. Would you want to find out the truth about the beanie? Would you want to find out the truth? Was it stolen? Or worse, did you forget it? Do you want to know the truth? Well, I don't think it will matter because the next morning the sun will rise. It's inevitable. All will be exposed. Everyone will be revealed. Nobody will be able to hide in the darkness. The sun has risen in the morning. It's bright, it's powerful. More powerful than any torch you may have left at home. And you've just woken up, but just like every morning, you just can't handle that brightness straight away. And it forces you to squint for a moment. You kind of wish the darkness is back. But you start to remember the frustration of not knowing where that beanie was the night before. And the trouble was to try and find the toilet. So you think, well, if I embrace the light, I'll find out what happens. Now, there might be some outcomes I don't like in that, but I've got to know the truth. I've really got to know where this beanie is. So you embrace the light. You know it won't go away. You actually know it's only going to get brighter. After a while, your eyes have adapted, and you aren't squinting. You can now see more than before. You're free to move around. Ah, the beanie. Where is it? That's right. Someone yells out, "Oi, here's your beanie. It was right on top of your tent the whole night." And a vision comes to mind of you placing the beanie on top of the tent when you went to zip it up and you went over to head to the campfire. There's a brief moment of embarrassment and shame. Probably guilt as well for being so grumpy, thinking that someone had actually pinched it. But, very quickly, relief rushes in. You grab the beanie, you stick it on, and you now have it because the rest of the day you'll be able to walk in the light and you'll be able to keep warm with your beanie. If it wasn't for the sunlight though, you wouldn't have found the beanie. Jesus though, he isn't talking about a camp. He's talking about life. Jesus claiming to be the light, and while in the world, the light of the world, he's saying without him, humans are in a state of being where they are confused, that we are lost, we are unable to see life as it is, that we are indifferent, we avoid, we ignore, and we have no desire for God. And Lawrence explored a little bit last night about what drives humans, what drives us. What is our desire? What is our goal? We are by default in this position. We are disconnected from our Creator, which leaves us stumbling and falling around in this world. But Jesus is going to reveal all things. He is the one who is the truth, who has the whole truth, and he reveals God. Now that probably means that initially we would all be squinting and struggling to take it in. There's some hard truths Jesus says about us as humans. And maybe we'd like to disagree. Or maybe we don't think it's true. But if it is, all our ignorance and pursuit of other desires and other things will be exposed. All the ways that we've tried to pursue happiness and worth away from God, all the things that we've done wrong. Forget a lost being. Every wrong thought we've had, every selfish act we've done, all will be exposed. And that is sin. All those things that I've described as sin. We have a choice to make. We can pretend the light isn't there and use the pillow in the morning to hide it. Or we can admit the truth and slowly let ourselves get used to it. What would you do? Now, the truth hurts, and someone actually mentioned that about 20 minutes ago. And here's a quote from Pinterest or somewhere like that. Now, the truth will hurt unless you are assured that the very person who shares truth also cares for you. So can we know that Jesus is good, that he cares for us, and that he is for us, that he is for our joy? Could he show us? In the camp scenario, when the sun rose up, you firstly had to brave the fact that initially the sun would hurt your eyes. And you also knew that if all is revealed, you wouldn't know what would be revealed. Maybe the beanie you left at home. Maybe someone stole it. It would mean that all our mistakes are revealed. But, just like when finding that beanie, there is such relief and gratitude for having the beanie back and now being warm. It's totally worth it. And I wonder, could Jesus be this as well? That Jesus may make big truths and harsh truth claims about us as humans. Realities that we may struggle to want to admit to. But is there the possibility that Jesus may also lead to relief and gratitude as well for who he is and maybe what he's done for us? So can we trust Jesus? How can we know for sure? How can we know for sure, firstly, that he is the revealer of God and the human's true state? And even if so, how can I know that embracing or exposing myself, trusting myself to this person will lead to full life, to never walk in darkness, to have the light of life? Will it be better than my reality right now and the world I have created? Will it? Should I just pretend God is not there and that he doesn't even see those things? Jesus makes outrageous claims of himself, but also us as humans. But he makes some outrageous promises. Promises to set us free and to never walk in darkness. How can that be? Could it be possible that the very person who exposes us and reveals our mistakes and wrongs is the very same person who loves and cares for us and promises to even heal us? These are outrageous claims that Jesus is light, that we are in darkness and have avoided God. Should we, should you, and will you expose yourself to the light? Jesus has talked the talk, but will he walk the walk? That's my challenge for you today. And in your community group, do you have a chance to look a bit closely? He's talked the talk, will he walk the walk?